Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining me on today's live stream. Today I'm going to be joined by our very special guest, Aleksander Salski. We'll come to him in a second, but the good news is that I don't have to do much today because Aleksander is going to do everything for me, but I'll be here to moderate and look at your questions and so forth. So on that note, welcome to those of you who are on YouTube or LinkedIn. So if you want to ask a question, just put it in the YouTube chat and then that will come through to myself and Aleksander, and then we can take a look at those. Equally, if you're in our, oh, that's a nice blank picture there. Let me change that to the right camera. There we go. Equally, if you are in our live streaming room and you want to ask a question, please put that in the Q&A tab, because this way it will go to myself and also to Helen and Victor, who are hanging out in the chat as well, who can assist us with answering questions. Now, there is rather a lot of you, so we won't necessarily get to all of your questions, but we do our best, or I'll pick and choose like some common themes and those kinds of things. If you want to hide the chat, you can just hit that little down arrow there. Let's get my camera back again once more. You can hit that little down arrow there, and then that will give you a bit more space to see capture one. So that's it from me. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and find Aleksander Salski. There we go. Hi, Aleksander. How you doing?
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? So thank you for introduction. My name is Aleksander Salski. I'm a Warsaw-based photographer, mostly shooting portraits, beauty, and fashion. And
Fantastic.
today I would love to show you my approach for color grading.
Excellent. Well, I'm just going to bring up your website as well, in case anybody wants to take a look at your work later on. So yeah, give us an idea, Aleksander, of what kind of work you do as well. What keeps you busy day to day?
So most of the work that you're going to see on my website is editorial work. I was happy to be published in magazines as Vogue, Cap 72424,
Nice.
or I don't know, Tush magazine, in style. I'm also capturing a lot of portraits during Camera Image Festival, stars of the cinema like Kate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Danny DeVito. So I'm all about the people photography,
Nice.
but also I'm very into storytelling concepts. So when the story is driven by any psychological or cultural topics, I'm totally into it. So this is what I'm into. Yeah.
Excellent. And you've been working as a photographer for more than 10 years now, right? I think
Yeah,
I
yeah, it's
remember you
gonna be
saying.
probably like I'm still saying it's 10 years, but it's probably more around like 12. Before that, I was a graphic designer and art director for a decade, and
Nice.
after that time, yeah, I was like, hey, I'm kind of tired of sitting in the front of the computer. I want to work with people, being
Right.
more in the middle of the action, and this was the time when I tried to switch. I was happy to, doing a school because I was studying photography at Academy of Fine Arts, but then I don't know, becoming a graphic designer was just faster. So after a decade, I had to switch.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's
Yeah.
bring up your screen, and we're going to look at what you're going to do today as well. So we should be seeing you on screen
Yeah.
now. Fantastic.
Everybody see? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to show you today three different images. One is studio portraits from recent editorial. Another one is gonna be daylight editorial shot, and the third one is gonna be a shot from my recent trip to Indonesia.
Yeah, we
The
should
thing
explain to everyone it's kind of midnight for you at the moment, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So
After
I'm gonna
traveling
be a
back.
little out of it. Apologies for that, because my brain really thinks it's like 30 minutes past midnight right now.
Yeah.
So
Well, it doesn't
sorry.
look like it. So
If I'm gonna be mumbling a little, I'm sorry for that. So, so the whole approach that I want to show you today, it's thinking about that digital photography can be a little closer to film look. And I totally understand that, everything that I'm gonna say, it's subjective, and like everybody can develop their own style. I'm gonna show you the way that I think is really representative for what I'm doing. And this is why we call this editorial color grading. And the funny thing is that you really can be really close to what the film look like. And
Right.
some of those techniques are based on how the movie colorist works. So we're going to be talking a little bit about curves. We're going to go basically through every single tool. But when I'm thinking about the image, I'm mostly thinking in three categories. Which first one is the color. It's a tonal contrast, and by this term I mean everything from exposure, contrast, brightness to curves to levels. So it's the most important thing is to think about the contrast. Second, we will talk about the color. So it's going to be about the color schemes, about the color cues, how we shift them, and how we can manipulate them to tell a story. And the third element is going to be something that I call texture. And this is the grain, the clarity, the blooms, everything that is connected with like the finishing layer of the image. So
Nice.
let's
And is
start.
this the kind of workflow that you normally do, like your typical sort of steps in editing a picture?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to show you exactly how I'm doing it on my daily job. And of course, the image to image can be different, but the general approach will be the same. And I'm going to show you this, basically showing how I'm doing this on those three different images. Yes, because they shoot it in totally different lighting scenarios. So I
Fantastic.
think it will translate perfectly. Okay, guys, so first what we're gonna do, we're gonna change the first setting in Capture One, which is bake characteristics. Capture One at the beginning of every image give you the option to put the ICC profile, which is a profile connected with colors, how colors will be interpreted, and the second one is curve, which when it's set up to auto, I believe, and David, tell me if I'm right, it's a film standard curve.
Yeah, exactly. Auto is film standard, so that's kind
Film
of
standard.
giving you a start point, some basic contrast. But yeah, what you're going to show us is something a little different, which is good because it's not
Yes,
something
yes.
I often do.
Which like the standard auto curve is really nice, but I like to start from the scratch from the bottom. So I'm putting everything in linear, and suddenly the image is starting to look pretty gray and even worse. But then what we're gonna do, we're gonna set up the curves by ourselves. So the really cool trick that I'm doing is I'm gonna copy the image pressing F3, and then I'm going to set up it as a corresponding image just to be able to put out this curve tool really big. So when we're going to think about the image, probably most of you know how to set up the curve.
Alexander, sorry, 1 second. Did you floated the curve tool right? And we can't see that. So what you can do is, yeah,
Mhm.
because the streaming software is
'Cause
sharing.
it's yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so I'm
sharing
going to do
Capture One,
it.
not the screen. So you can
Mhm.
stop sharing and share the whole screen, or you can leave
Oh
the
yeah.
curve
So
to
wait, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
yeah
do it.
do that,
So
and then that way. So you'll momentarily use it, lose it. So don't worry, folks, that you see
entire
number two.
screen. Yeah, we are here, and we should be
Okay,
back.
so yeah, float your curve tool
Okay,
again,
so what
and
so
then we'll
what I
be
was
good.
doing, I was dragging this window, which is like normally lives here in my palettes, but it's pretty small to do this precise adjustment. So what I'm doing, I'm grabbing this window and I'm making it pretty big and nice. In this way, I can see the whole tonal range of the image, and I'm starting to adjust. So when we think about the image, it always goes from the bottom, from the shadows up to through the midtones to the highlights. So the first thing that I'm setting up is the shadow area. So I'm gonna lift a little bit of this part, and then I'm gonna add a little of the contrast here. This is called a knee. So this is the part when the tonal contrast is giving us the most response, yes? So basically what I'm doing, I'm shaping my own contrast. I'm not telling Capture One, hey, do it for me. I'm gonna try to do it by myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but let's see. Yeah, so we came from this to this. And I'm trying to really nail what's happening in this area, this transition area, which is super important. Yeah.
Good
So this is
comment,
the RGB.
Alexander. Already someone said we can make the curves panel that big. So yes, you can. So first
It's really
handy
helpful,
point.
guys. Really, because like sometimes we're gonna be talking about like pretty small increments. Sometimes I'm even doing stuff like this. I'm just marking one point, and with the arrow keys, I'm not using the mouse. With the arrow keys, I'm just changing the contrast a little bit. I hope it goes through the streaming, but like you definitely can see what's happening here in this part of the image, how the contrast increase or decrease. Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
this
can
will
see
be,
it. Yep.
yeah. So yeah, big curves window, really good. Then we're gonna go to the Luma curve, and what I really like to do is to add another contrast points that's gonna be adding a little bit of contrast into the dark parts, yes, because the curve is go down here, so that everything that is below this straight line is going a little bit darker. So this will be the first points. And so until now, we just introduced some contrast adjustments. Then we're gonna play around a little bit with this contrast slider just to polish it, to finish it, and play a little bit with the exposure, brightness slider, which moves the whole histogram, the middle of the whole histogram, so the midtones. Then we can counter it a little with the exposure. So it's like you're going down with the exposure and you're brightening the brightness slider a little. Okay, so this is something that I'm happy with. After this, we're gonna go to high dynamic range, which is really nice. We see at the histogram that here we have a little bit of maybe not blown out. I can put this curve away here, so we'll have the more room. Maybe we don't have blown highlights, but we can have it a little hot. So this will be the second thing. Then I'm going to pull down the highlight, the white slider, and add a little bit to the black slider. Yeah. So before, after, looks like that. So until now, we introduced a contrast. Yes, we told Capture One, hey, we're gonna introduce our self contrast. Don't do anything. We put image in a, we could probably call it a little more lock state, so it's super flat, and we introduce our self contrast. Then we're gonna go to the top, which is called color balance. And we're also gonna play with the highlights and shadows. I like to start from the highlights. And I'm also gonna pull them down a bit just to give it this soft, milky, creamy look. And then in the shadows area, we're gonna smoke the shadows a little. We're gonna make them less deep. Just something like that. So this is the part where we did a pretty much all of the tonal stuff, and let's think about the color. So when I'm thinking about the color, I'm thinking, first of all, I'm thinking about the color temperature. Yes, so this is the broadest of the tool. It's shifting all the hues, all the colors from warmer to cooler, or from cooler to warmer. And I really like to do it by using the shortcut key, which is pressing 1. And then with the arrow up and down, you're changing the color temperature. and we're gonna cool it a little. This is the picture from Editorial that is called Fluid Noir. It's about cinematography and German cinema, and mixed with the Blade Runner look. So let's put it more in a cooler tones. And then we're going to change the tint also by doing this, using the shortcut, which is key number 2 and arrows. Yes. Yep. Okay. So we are pretty good with the color temperature. Next thing that we're gonna introduce is to play with some hues. It's really nice. I didn't
Quick
do it
question
this
for
time.
you, Alexander. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
because a few people are asking about it. You're using the white background in Capture One, which is something I've started recently doing as well. Is there a conscious choice for that, or is that how you've always had it?
It's a conscious choice, because when I'm dealing with the brighter image on a black background, I don't see if it's like a white or not. If there's something that is clipped or not, it's pure white. So I really like to have the white background as a point of, like, this is not pure white. Yeah. This is I have the contrast. I still have the information in those areas.
Yeah.
And today we are working on something that is like pretty bright. Yes, if I'm gonna reset it, the areas here are not overexposed, but they are like pretty close to 255. So this is why I'm using the white background, just to have this contrast between my image and the background. If I'm doing something that it's super dark, like let's say we color grading an image with the dark skin model, or it's an underexposed kind of image, then I would use the black background.
Yeah, I find I've started to default to white, and also if you're printing with a border, which I kid myself I do more often than I should, then also it kind of gives you a better reference as well. But I think for, yeah, as you say, balancing exposure and brightness and the colors in the end, it works out better. So yeah, thanks for
Yes,
that. Sorry.
no problem. That's an excellent point of reference for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where we are? Yeah, we were at the hues. So we did the color contrast. We're gonna do a little bit with the hues. So here we have the color editor, and this is something that I would encourage everybody to do it by their own taste. Which means if you have color checker, which looks like that, I would set up an image with color checker and some colorful objects. I don't know, like fruits, toys, whatever that represent those colors, and just play a little with color. Because when I'm thinking about editorial photography, it's always interpretation of the world, of the image, of what I saw. I don't have to be precise. This is not the campaign for Coca-Cola that the red has to be this red. This can be my red. And I encourage everybody to just, play a little with what kind of red do I really like? What kind of blues do I really like? Are those more going to cyans like this? Or maybe something going into the purple hues, yes? Because this will give you your kind of aesthetic and style. And here we're gonna a little try to do it in a very subtle way. Like, for example, I'm seeing this this purple hue here just around the neck area. So I'm gonna push it more into the cyans. Yes. Also, I'm gonna try to do a little push here and a little push here. Perfect. Yeah, let's see what we did. You see, guys, that like before we had like more green, yellow, red colors on a face, and more of this green tint, this blue or purple tint here on the fur. And right now we are introducing more of the color harmony. So this is like a little bit hue shift. But also we're gonna introduce something that I really like to do on a mask, and the new AI tool that masks it in a very quickly way is skin tool. We don't want to use the lips. We're just gonna use the skin tool. And I always like to refine a mask a little, just a bit, to not have it very, very harsh. Okay, by pressing the M, I'm gonna turn off the mask, and I'm gonna switch to skin tone tool and pick up the desired hue where I like the skin to be. Somewhere around this area is pretty nice. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the saturation a little more unified. Put a little bit less of the saturation here, and maybe put the skin tones more into this yellow hues. Yes, so when we're gonna, it's very subtle, but you can see how the skin was just unified just a bit. We're gonna do the same with, or similar thing with things with the lips. So I'm gonna set up the lips, also refine it a little bit, and play a little with the hue of the lipsticks. I hope that my editorial team that's probably watching it won't be mad, the makeup artist who was doing the makeup here, because I'm going to switch.
Never show the makeup artist. Yeah,
yeah, but they like it because I can, refine their job, like really just a bit, not overdo. Yeah, we just put a little bit of density here, like the color is more dense. Okay, so this is the color part, and I'm gonna finish it with putting something that is called split tone, which means that we're pushing a little bit of color into the highlights and also pushing a little bit of color into the shadows. I like to start from the highlights, and this is also super subjective. So, there are like many color schemes. I like the one which is pretty classic, which is pushing something warm into the highlights and cold into the shadows. But I'm not going, many times I'm going in a way that I'm pushing it through some kind of purple or rose color, something like that, wait a second, I'm not in this on this layer. I should supposed to be on this layer, yeah. So now I'm going to introduce a little bit of this hue here. So you see what's happening in those areas, yes? The color here, we're adding a little bit of color contrast, yeah? Always with this slider, you can push it to the max or just give it a little bit, just a tiny. And here we're going to do the same with the blacks or with the shadows, which I really also like to push in this area, and maybe make them a little bit more foggy. Right now when I did it, I think I can back up a little with the color of the highlights. So we finished these two things, and then the final approach is to do the texture. So we did the contrast, we did the exposure, we did the color balance, and introduce some hue rotations. And now I like to finish it with something that I call texture, which is grain, clarity, and basically the sharpness of the image. So most of us probably using digital cameras that will have, like, I don't know, between 20 to 40 to 60 megapixels, which is huge amount of detail. And I'm not a huge fan of detail. So first thing that I set up, it was like I put the sharpening all the way down and set this up as a default. So you can save your all preset as a default for this specific camera here under those three dots. And I just, turn off all my sharpening. I did the same with the noise reduction also. So this is something, because, this image is without any sharpening, it's still super, super sharp. So I think over sharpenings kill this natural organic vibe of the image. So the thing that I'm going to set up right now is a film grain. I like to use or silver rich or soft grain. Let's go this time with the soft grain. Many times push the slider pretty high up and just control how much grain I will have with the impact slider. Sometimes it's really nice to make this window bigger. So I'm also gonna try to do it here.
Little tip on this one as well, you can also have, we don't have enough screen space on this one, but you can have more than one focus window. So if you want to set one to eye, one to face, one to a manual spot, then that's
that's nice. I never thought about it. That's cool.
If you're shooting tethered, then of course they update depending on the speed of your computer. Then they kind of update in real time as well. But yeah, you could have 20 of those if you
20 of them
if you wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool feature. Most of the time I was using this by having the full image here in the viewer, and focus one to see the details. So here we're gonna introduce a little bit of grain, and then we're gonna switch to clarity. And clarity is a really cool tool that sometimes you can push up the clarity and make and bring up the details. But to be honest, I'm gonna pull down the clarity and make the detail less visible. I'm gonna use maybe a little bit of blur, but I'm gonna do it in a selective way. And what I'm gonna create first is gonna be a mask, a layer with field adjustment layer. And then we're gonna introduce something which is called luma range. So it means that everything that this guy I can just turn off. This means that everything that is going to be selected it's going to be adjusted by the layer. So here I want to focus only on the highlights and make it really smooth transition. Yes, so we're focusing only on the highlights area. Yeah, let's say this will be like the most of the highlights, and I'm call it highlights clarity. And I'm gonna back down the clarity a bit. It's really good to do it with like 100% or 40 or 60 or something closer than a full view, just to give it a little bit of this dreamy effect. And then we're gonna do it similarly, but with the shadow area. So we're targeting only the really, really dark parts of the image. Yeah, let's park it somewhere here. Yep. And we don't go into the clarity slider. And we're pulling this really, really heavily. Okay. So now when I'm on this state, I love to always go back to the page 1, which is curves, and see. Let me set up this as a reference and see that can I adjust something more, because we did so many adjustments that I like to see what else I can push here. Now this is I really like. It has this punchy vibe.
Do you often keep the original image up as a reference, like to go back to every now and then?
Sometimes, but I'm using before and after key. Most of the time, I'm using the original image just to be able to put the curves here.
Smart.
To be honest, because without it, I would have like
Yeah.
I wasn't be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
but sometimes I keep it as the original. But our brains are like so fast. They can adjust what I'm seeing so fast that I don't know. I don't look at it as a reference. It's easy way if you would like to color grade something with the reference. It's really nice way. But to coming back to this as the original, I think I prefer to just do the simple before and
after.
yeah. Okay, guys. So I think I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe I'm gonna pull out something here a little. And maybe I'm also gonna introduce a little bit more of this greenish tint here. Okay, and one last thing, I'm gonna come back to the color editor tool. And I don't like this yellow, this blue tint here, so I'm gonna take it apart. Okay, and I think this one is finished. So we came pretty long way from a very clear, very natural looking to something more filmic. Yeah, we have
For sure. Looks fantastic.
we have shadows which are a little bit lift up. We have contrast that it's mostly done in those parts represented by a curve here, by a curve here.
Yep.
Quickly, dirty desktop. Don't worry.
We didn't see it. It's fine.
We'll have it. We'll have it. And at the end, I think I would like to just tell that this part in a curve is something that is really important. Just pay attention what's happening in those elements. Of course, something which is here like highlights also have pretty big impact. Like for example, when I'm just pulling this down, the skin in this area or is looking more punchy or is looking more creamy. I prefer the more creamy way. So we have like gentle roll off from midtones, which normally the skin likes, like it's some kind of midtones to the highlights area. So this will be the first one.
Very nice. I have a question which
Sure.
I don't suggest you do, but it was a question from Carsten who wanted us to repeat the curve work with the auto function, but it would look very different because the auto,
let's switch it.
Yeah, if we switch it to auto, I imagine the contrast will go up.
It's gonna have more contrast. Yeah,
quite a chunk. Yeah.
I think that the thing that I'm doing here, it just because the auto and the standard, which auto is the standard curve.
Yes.
It's already introducing the S curve. So now we are basically doubling this S curve, and I'd like to. The only thing that I'm doing like out of the track is I'm setting up my own curve, my own, tonal response to the image. Yeah. Which I think is pretty important. So maybe, try
it yourself.
curve.
Yeah. By having it this way, you get your choice of S curve. The way you've drawn it is somewhat different to the standard film standard, I would say. So this way gives you much more control, but of course you have to put the effort in to get the contrast that you want as well. So
and
that's
really
the trade-off.
Yes, exactly. But really try to not do it in a small window, because it's really too small. It's like really you're gonna hustle with it.
Yeah, especially down at the shadow. You've got 3 or 4 points down there, which would be impossible to
really hard
move
to
accurately.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this was the image that we shoot on in a studio. Let's see how this technique is going to work on something with the sunlight. We already see the exposure is pretty okay, but still we have some elements that are kind of blown out. I didn't pay much attention to this on the set, so we'll have to figure out this here. But we have like tons of latitude here. I hope we're gonna manage. So like before, we're gonna go to set up the linear response first. Then we're gonna go. I'm gonna be a little faster with this time, yeah, because we already know the drill. I didn't copy the adjustment. Yeah, now we have 2 images. Let's set up the curve. Maybe we're gonna pull down some of the contrast, and we're gonna try to set up the curve. Every image will be a little bit different. Of course, you can try copy, and many times I'm just copying my adjustments and my curve from different images. But to be honest, always you have to adjust it a little bit. Here we are in linear. Yes, we are in linear. Okay, we're gonna push a little bit of brightness and pull down a little bit of this, and introduce a Lomo curve here. Yeah. Now I'm going to switch quickly to highlights and shadows in the color, and we're going to try to make them a little less poppy and open a shadows a bit, just a bit. Yeah. Okay, let's put a little bit of this and here. I make it a little bigger. Try to nail it. This one I don't need, but this one I'm gonna push somewhere here. I'm trying to nail what's happening again. What's happening in the transition between the highlights or the lights and the shadows. Recently, when we're talking to David, this area has a name. It's penumbra. I think, David,
Oh, say that again. Yeah. That's a new one for me.
I think it's penumbra.
Okay.
Preumbra. I think it's something like this. So this transition, this is the small gradient between the lights and the shadows or the midtones. Okay. And how long this gradient is, it's called preumbra. I believe. Maybe somebody in the chat can correct us.
If not, it's a good word and we use it.
Yeah, sounds cool. Yeah, so I'm paying a lot of attention to this. What's happening here in the highlights, and I'm focusing on this area right now. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit on this area. Yeah, I like it like this. Also, we're gonna try to we're gonna try to introduce a little bit of recovery in the highlights, but this camera has pretty old sensors, so I think there is not much there. And we're gonna introduce a little bit of HDR slider. Make a note that basically I'm using very small increment in those areas because it's pretty heavy. Yeah, the slider is like it's opening a much. So even if I'm going from like 0 to 3, it's doing a lot to the image. Okay, so this is the tonal part. In this one, I'm going to try to introduce clarity slider on the whole image, not on the selected areas. And let's go to the color tab. We're going to play a little bit with the blues here. Okay, I can.
Oh, we have from YouTube, Lena is saying penumbra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Which we think is pre-shadow amongst the Capture One staff chat. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to play a little with the hue rotations right now. I'm pushing those more cyan, maybe darken them a bit and push some saturation into it, just because I can and I like. I'm also going to do it with the greenish slider or the cyan slider. Yeah. The skin tone, which here will affect also a little bit of the stones and rocks, but it's okay. We're just gonna give it a little bit of saturation and maybe a little bit of the hue unifying. Oh, it is on layer somehow. Wait a second. Oh, it went to the layer. Okay, doesn't matter. And then we're gonna try to push this. We're gonna try to push this color balance tool and also introduce some split toning. So I really like to push, like I said before, I really like to push those, warm tones, but not warm in terms of like yellow or oranges. I'm mostly gonna do something between rose, magenta, and red. So here we're gonna introduce some red to it. Yep. And here we're gonna introduce some of the opposite color, which is gonna be around cyan. Perfect. Okay, now I would like to go back to the color temperature tab and see if I want to make it a little cooler and maybe push some of the saturations up. So those are like the final tweaks. And at the end, let's do the texture. Let's do the texture, which this time we're gonna use harsh grain. I lost the focus tab. It's here. I'm gonna push it here. And let's see some elements. Yeah, here and here. Okay. Yeah, I like this one to be pretty grainy. I'm turning off the sharpening and turning off the noise reduction. This was shot on ISO 320, not much noise in this image. So I'm turning this down. And maybe I'm gonna use a controversial method of reverse vignetting, which
Why is it controversial?
so some people don't like it. I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I really, and sometimes I really like it.
Yeah.
It's giving me this. It's also focusing, but in a different way.
Different
You know,
way. Yeah, that's true. Whether it's light or dark, it still draws
of course,
attention in a different way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, the eye goes first to the brighter areas, but still, like when it's a vignetting, it's still like pushing you into the image, in my opinion. Okay, and let's see if I'm gonna want to push it a little more. And yeah. Yeah, we're gonna make it a little warmer here. Yeah. So this will be the second one. So we came from this to this. Yes, we have the same color scheme. Like we have lift up shadows, a little bring down highlights, and overall increase of the contrast, but in this matte soft method.
I have a nice question from Valeria. Sorry if I said your name wrong, Valeria. They say, how do you know what colors will or won't work for a given photo? How do you pick colors when you see raw material?
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, I learn a lot on watching movies and paintings, and there are color harmonies and color theories that are telling you which colors will work with different colors. But when I'm looking at this kind of image, when you basically already have some colors, because we have blue sky, blue ocean, and yellowish, creamy tones of stones and the body of the model, the mermaid on a rock. We already have some color theory here. Yeah, we have warms and we have cold colors. Yes, so I'm basically following this, but in an opposite way. So I'm pushing warm colors into the highlights because I always feel that, you know, it's also, like I said, it's very subjective, but just imagine this warm summer hot day in Greece. You closing your eyes, and the thing that you feel and see, it's like yellow, it's like a reddish rose color through your eyes. And this is where I'm pushing into it. Yes, when you are in a cold environment, just, you know, you want to hide from the sun into the shadow, you pushing yourself into the cold area. So those are like, most of the time they're going to work in like probably 85% of the images, but most of the time I'm also looking for the color references. Like, look, check your favorite movies, check your favorite painters. When you're gonna go next time to the museum, just notice which color are like playing with you. Because like many photographers, maybe they won't like my colors. Yeah, they're gonna be more into it, into like, I don't know, more washout colors or even more punchy. Or they, you know, I have friends who are all the time pushing at the color temperature in the super into super cold tones. Yes, others pushing it into super warm tones. So this is very subjective topic.
Yeah.
My approach would be just notice what you like and try to replicate it.
Yeah, and I think, like, looking at your website, you certainly haven't stuck to one color grade. I think it's you can fall into a trap of just doing the same color grade on every single image if you're not careful.
Yes.
And you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
done
yeah.
that, which is nice. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I think you can say I have approach to it, but every image is different. Like those curves gonna be different. They're gonna be probably shaped in a way that it's gonna be some kind of flavor of a S curve, but where these points are sitting on this curve is like very important. Yeah. So it's nice to have your, sometimes some of my colleagues call it a signature. look,
Yes.
which means it's going to be my color, my curve, and it's really good to have this kind of base. But it's always like you're going to put this base and then you're going to tweak it to your to this specific image.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And another question from who was it? Hang on a second. Robert. You like to switch between RGB and Luma curves. What's your thinking behind this?
Oh, that's really good one. This is really good one because I was struggling to understand it at the beginning. It was really, I'm gonna come back with the window here. It was really tough one for me at the beginning, so maybe I will able to explain. So if you're gonna think about the those two different curves, of course David will probably make it more clear. But this one, the RGB curve, introduce saturation always. Like if you're gonna push this point, you're gonna introduce a little bit of the saturation. You can even see it, yeah. Like when I'm pushing this point, I'm pushing into also not only the contrast, the luminosity, but I'm also pushing saturation. But the Luma curve is different. This curve only plays with the luminosity. So when I want to darken some parts of the image, like for example, I really like those, faded blacks, which are like, you don't see a lot of details in those blacks, but they are not very, very deep. Like they're you could almost milky or or smoky, you could call them, yeah. So if I would do it with the RGB curve, this would add also the saturation. I don't want more saturation here. I want more black here. So this is why I'm going to use this kind of curve. Yes, it's not going to introduce saturation. It's going to only introduce luminosity change. Yes. So this is why I'm combining those two curves to have a control on the level of saturation, and on the other one to have a control on the luminosity levels. Yeah.
And we've kind of kicked off a bit of a theme about aligning color with clients and editors. So Charles was asking, do publications or designers ever push back on your color grade decisions? And Jordan was asking, I guess, do you work directly with the client telling you if they want changes in the color, or do you pick clients that let you do what you want? I guess is the dream, isn't it?
It's a dream. I think only few of us have this privilege. Coming back to the first question, when we're talking about the editorial, I never had a request of changing or losing my color grade in editorial world.
Great.
Basically, most of the editors will accept you as a photographer for a shoot because they will like your style, which means they will like your color grading, or they will like the color grading that your retoucher is helping you to do. Because sometimes the retoucher will do the color grading, yes,
right,
in a way that you're gonna tell him. But by the retouchers, I need to tell one more thing in a second, but we're gonna come back to it. One more pro tip. So I never had the situation when the magazines told me, oh, we love the story, but we would like you to not do your color grading. I think if you develop a body of work and the magazine is going to accept you as a person who's going to shoot next story for them, they will also like your color grading. Of course, the art director or the editor can tell me, hey, this story will have this, more it will be about the I don't know, the winter topics. Yeah, we would like to push the images more into the cold zone or cold place. So this is also every time a conversation, but I never had the situation that they told me, oh, you have the blacks like too low. We would like to see everything in the blacks. This doesn't happen. But this was about the editorial world. When we're talking about the commercial world, and you have really heavy color grading, like, you know, you're going to change tons of the things in the image. The contrast is going to be way pushed too much, or the color is going to be changed. Then the clients can come on the set and tell, hey, you know, this dress doesn't look like it on a, like, you know, in a product. And this sometimes can happen. It's going to more often happen in an e-com product shooting scenario than,
Sure.
for example, in a campaign. Like sometimes on a campaign shoot, which has like, I don't know, between 12 to 20 to maybe 25 images, sometimes the color is also only an interpretation of what photographers saw on a set. You know, so they will accept my color even if, you know, if the dress was, for example, red, and my red was more into the ketchup zone and not the I don't know, the pink zone, yeah, the
Sure.
pink hue. They're gonna tell something, but even like in the campaign world, sometimes they do not pay attention, because it's about the mood, it's about the selling, the, you know, the vibe of the whole brand, or
Yeah.
this product.
Yeah, I'd
Then
go so far as to say that they'd be disappointed if you weren't
yes,
applying a color look or a grade or a style. As you say, that's why
yes,
you're being hired. They'll look at your body of work and think, yeah, this is the person
and
that
then
we
you,
want. You
yes.
know, if everything is straight out of camera with perfect colors, as we say, that's not what we're looking for. Yeah.
Exactly, because just guys, look how much we change, already in those two images. You know, this is something that like, if I would show you something like this is super plain. Yeah, this doesn't have any, of course it has a light, it has composition, it has a mood, but in terms of colors, it's super plain. It could be shot on an iPhone. Yeah, by the way, we're gonna make a picture shot on iPhone also.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
It's gonna be the third one.
Yeah. This will be
So this is
the quick edit. Yeah.
the quick edit. So this is the third one. It was shot on iPhone 15 Pro. I'm becoming to shooting this camera, or well, the camera more and more, because it's always with me. It's shooting RAW Max format, and I can edit it in Capture One. And the best part of it is that I already developed a style, my style in Capture One desktop, and then I export it to the Capture One mobile. And on the go, I can do the color grading just on the mobile app. It's perfect. It's like you have a studio in your pocket. So let's do this very quickly. So the first thing that iPhone introduced is DNG tone mapping. I'm also gonna turn it off, but I'm gonna use this time Film Extra Shadow Curve. And like always, we're gonna set it up here. We're gonna push it here. Let's do our not this curve. Let's do our curve. Yes, let's see what we can push out from this image. What's happening here? When I was shooting this image, it was so bright that I couldn't see, like I only could see figures of those boys, and this drew my attention. So I'm gonna try to not use the HDR method and, like, you know, bring every detail in the shadow. It's not very important for me. I much prefer to play with those on a level of the silhouette figures. A little bit, yeah. Then we're gonna switch to here. I'm gonna come back with this. We're gonna brighten them. We can switch back to here. We can brighten maybe push it a little more here. Just a tiny bit. Push the exposure down. Yeah, that's playing pretty nice. Also, I would like to cool it a bit and go to the slider here. Maybe too much. Okay. And let's play with some hue rotations here. We have one hue of blue here. And we have another one with the green, probably more here. Perfect. Okay, let's introduce a little bit of this dynamics here. Yeah, so I would push it more or less in this direction. So before and after. So let's check all those three images. This one I can clear, and this one. And the cool thing is they were shot on 3 different cameras, but they have similar vibe. This one was shot on the Canon 5D Classic, the camera from 2006, I believe. This one was shot on Canon 5D Mark IV, and this is the iPhone shot. So developing your own style and approach and applying it to different cameras can work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great example of it's not the camera, which
It's not a camera.
defines the output. Definitely, yeah. Because
Yeah.
if we hadn't seen the ICC profile, the base characteristics tool,
The base, yeah.
yeah, then you'd be none the wiser in what camera is what and so forth. So yeah, shows you don't need to have the latest and greatest.
The greatest, and really most of the photographers now have iPhone and shoot something on iPhone. I really think it's a really nice camera for traveling and shooting some stuff.
Yeah.
The only trick that I would like to add to the end. Remember, guys, when I showed you that at the end I'm putting the grain on top of it. If you're working with retoucher, I suggest that you don't put the grain at the end. Just send them a PDF with a PSD or TIFF PDF, yeah, PSD file without the grain, and you can put the PSD here and add the grain, because it's really hard to retouch stuff under the grain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people forget that there's nothing wrong with putting a TIFF file or a PSD in Capture One to use the grain tool, because the grain tool works fabulously. Capture One isn't just for raw files. You can edit JPEGs and PSDs and TIFFs and so on, but that use case for adding grain at the end of the workflow is, yeah, super nice. We have a couple of other questions if you have time to answer.
Yeah, of course.
There was a couple on speaking about sharpening. So Bianca asked one, Peter asked one, because in your workflow you cut the sharpness, which makes perfect sense for these kinds of outputs. Does your retoucher introduce any sharpening at any point, or do you introduce any sharpening at export, or we leave it pretty much as we see here?
Another great question. When I'm sending my stuff to my retoucher, she will retouch it. She will send me back the PSD or TIFF file. I will add the grain, and in Capture One, I will sharpen it to the specific format that I'm exporting. Because if this is, for example, only digital campaign and it's not going to be printed, I'm exporting a digital resolution. So let's call it like 3,000 pixels by, I don't know, 4,000 pixels, yeah, or 2,000 by 3,000, whatever. And I'm doing a sharpening on the export level. I think this is the best way, because every different format will have different level of sharpening. So it's nice to leave it at the end. Don't do anything today, try to not sharpen image anytime before you're gonna export it, because like I think like recently I started shooting with the pinhole lens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have like it's one of a heck of a blur,
Yep.
and I love it. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So like unless you're shooting a campaign for like for a print, don't sharpen anything before retouching process.
Yeah,
Try to keep it as low process as you can.
and definitely the advice on sharpening for export makes, yeah, can't emphasize that enough really, because reducing an image changes the sharpness level or softens it. Enlarging it, of course, makes it softens it as well. So getting the sharpening right for the output level, whether you're doing that in Capture One or Photoshop or whatever, makes no difference to me. But yeah, it's just important in principle that you do so. And of course, yeah, in the export tools of Capture One, you've got great options for
It's
doing
perfect. So
that.
you can
Yeah.
set up different. You can like here I have, this is my list of the exports. Probably everybody has different, but for example, high res PSD, which I'm sending most of the time to the retoucher. It has somewhere here. It's no
Oh, disable.
sharpening.
I see. Yeah, export adjustments,
Disable all
disable all.
sharpening. Yes,
Yeah.
but for example, for the JPEG 3000 pixels, I will have some sharpening, because this is, it's after you add that, we'll do everything. After everything is done, you can add a little bit of sharpening. And the cool way also is to introduce it with the proofing tool, because then you will see how much of this sharpening will be here. Yes, this is by this tool you can basically see the full 100% scale of the image. So this one has 2500 pixels right now, and it has a little bit of sharpening. But right now I would even add more grain to it, to be honest. Yeah, if I'm looking on this huge scale, I would, it has soft. I would probably go even around like 25 or 30 to this one. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a nice question. Thank you for answering that collection
Yeah, it is really
of
good one.
people. Yeah, because it's often a step that gets missed, that my picture looks great in Capture One, send it kind of thing. But yeah, as it's very rare anything is printed or exhibited at the maximum pixel density of the camera in hand, yeah, it's
Yes.
really important to treat everything, yeah, individually for sure. Okay, I'll think of one final question and then we'll let people know where they can follow you and see you and so
Cool.
forth. Okay, let's end on a film versus digital question, I guess, from
Yeah, sure.
Gonzalo Sanchez. He was asking, is there anything a medium format camera is still doing that a digital one is not?
Oh
I
yeah, I
wonder.
have to tell you, David. It has halation.
Halation. Oh yes, that's right. We were
Yes,
speaking
the
about
film
that
has
earlier.
highlightation,
Yeah.
which doesn't highlight. If you're gonna check the any tutorial on color grading the film, the movie, how they do it in Hollywood, they vary into doing the halation, which is like effect, which it's not an effect, it's a physical thing that's happening on the film, which
Yes.
the digital doesn't do, and you have to do it in a post production. I hope the guys from the wonderful guys from Capture One will finally introduce halation slider somehow to next versions. But this is something that I have to do when I'm doing it on digital. I have to do it with other software.
Yep. Yep. No, it's really interesting. Could be some
And
nice
of course,
other film
medium
effects.
format. Yeah. And of course, medium format. It's medium format. It's a different, different resolution, different distance between the lens, different focal length. The image will be different than the 35. But
Yeah.
in terms of colors of curves, I really believe that we can come pretty close. Maybe not 100%, because film always will have this organic. It won't be precise, yes, but like I'm many times when I'm shooting digital and I'm shooting film, I can come close to those two looks.
Great. Fantastic. All right. Well, I've just put your Instagram up on screen. So
Yeah.
if people want to follow you and see what you're up to, then yep, they can do so. Pretty easy to find on Instagram.
Yeah,
And
it's my name underscore score my surname, so it's Aleksander underscore Salski. Hi guys, if anybody would like to, I'm doing one-on-one lessons or
oh,
like
great.
talks about the color grading. I'm very into it. So if you
Fantastic.
want to contact me, just drop me a DM on Instagram or write me an email. I will be happy to help.
Fantastic. Yeah, a couple of people were asking about that. Did you do courses or anything like that? So
Courses I'm not doing. I don't
perfect.
have time for it, but what one-on-one sometimes I'm doing
Great.
with
Fantastic. Well,
with people.
David says inspiring work. Alexander J says
Thanks.
brilliant. Thanks so much. Ron, excellent webinar. Thank you, Alexander and David. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
a
It was a
fab
pleasure.
tutorial.
Thank
Yeah,
you. It was
thank
a
you very
pleasure.
much. So don't go away, Alexander. I'll say goodbye to you in a second. I'll just say farewell to everyone else. Thanks for joining. Whoops, wrong camera. Hang on a second. See, this is what happens when you don't check for the right things when you're setting up. 1 second. Here we go. Let's see. Sorry, guys. It's been a while since I've live streamed, so I've got a. Here we go. Camera B. Come on. Oh, scene locked. Okay, camera B. There we go. Right, got there in the end. So thanks everyone for joining. Sorry about that. Yeah, as you saw, please follow Alexander on his channels. Contact him if you wish. Thanks for joining us today. There is more live streams coming up. Nothing up yet on the page, but there will be soon. We've got a few things to sort out and exciting news coming in May as well. So thanks for joining us today. I hope that was useful. This recording has gone straight to YouTube, so if you want to watch again, either right now or in a few days' time, then it's running to YouTube as we speak. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks for joining, and enjoy your weekend when it comes. Take care.